to discuss terroir. What is terroir? How does it affect the quality of the plant? Well, there's no one better to ask than Swami Chaitanya. Hi, Swami.
Hi, Derek. It's great to be here again. Well, terroir has become a hot topic, and especially up here in Mendocino County. I'm part of a committee called the Mendocino Appellation Project, which is dealing with terroir and trying to establish terroir for Mendocino County and actually for all of California, because the state law that was just passed has a clause in there that says the state may establish appellations for cannabis.
Well, hold on now,
wait
hold
a second,
on.
we got
Yeah,
appellation and terroir,
yeah,
right?
so what exactly?
It's a vocabulary lesson. So, okay, let's start back with terroir.
Sure.
Terroir comes from the Latin like terra, which means literally earth, right?
Okay.
And so that's the idea that it's based on the earth. And tierra in Spanish is again earth. Terroir is French, and then now it's got a bigger meaning in relation to wine and Roquefort cheese and things like this. And so terroir is a guarantee that that product has not only come from a certain area, geographical area, but in France, it strictly has to do with what kind of grapes were grown and what kind of method was used to, say, make the champagne, or what kind of casks were used to age the wine, and so on. So it's a very strict limit of you have to do this way, and so on.
So terroir really is the climate or the region where the cannabis, in this instance, is grown.
Yeah.
Well,
it's all of the above in a sense, because it's the earth, the soil that's there, and what its composition is, how well it drains. It's the climate, the weather. It's how many days over, say, 60 degrees, and how much fog there is, or moisture content in the air. But another factor of terroir is always, and one of the most important factors, is not so much a physical factor as it's a cultural factor. Because say a wine region in France, these people have been growing wine there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so the body of knowledge they have is kind of almost not even written down. And it's a collective knowledge of what to do when, and so on, and how to do certain things, which is tradition.
And they have a special word for that that they use in France that they've called. Is that appellation?
Well, no, appellations, like if you ever took beginning French, je m'appelle Swami, right? Which means, appel means name, or to be called, literally, to be called. So an appellation is the name of, or what it's called, which is the name of a place of origin. And it's usually a geographical area, right?
Okay.
And so the way they get those geographical names then becomes an issue. Now, for cannabis, we're talking about Mendocino County, and it will have, presumably at the moment, and this, of course, we're still talking about this, 11 different zones, which are identified as cannabis growing zones within the county. Now, the State Water Board has come out with other zones which are much bigger. And we're subdividing down because we know that up here on Bell Springs, which we are, claiming as our appellation, Bell Springs, there may be 50 farmers up here. We have a certain kind of climate and soil, but we also have a Bell Springs farmers market where we all get together and trade starts and trade seeds and trade tips and secrets and so on. And that's our cultural exchange that we have, right?
So in Mendocino County, you're saying there's as many as 7 different
11
different
terroirs.
Well, within the
closer
county.
to the coast, and elevation has a huge amount to do it, because one of the things that makes our terroir, our area, great, all of Mendo, but it has to do with elevation, because that has to do with cool nights. Cannabis likes to grow at night, and that's because the temperature goes down into the 40s and 50s. If it's much over 85 degrees in the daytime, cannabis is just surviving at that point, just trying not to get melted or fried or whatever, right?
Yeah, so if I grew the same cannabis, a clone, let's say, of the same variety, the same cultivar, and I grew that same clone in 2 or in all of the different regions, would they all come out a little bit different because of the terroir?
Well, they would all come out a little different. It would be partially the terroir. And are you the one growing them, or 4 different people growing them?
Let's say it was the same grower.
Yeah. Okay, I know Kevin Jodry, who does Wonderland up in Humboldt. He was telling me he grew one strain down pretty much at sea level where he had one property, and he had another one somewhere around 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
And he said, without a doubt. I mean, they had the exact same feeding and all of that sort of stuff. But basically, he said the one at altitude just grew a lot better, more potent, and so on. What does it have to do? It perhaps has to do with how clear the air is, whether you've got UV light or what, ultraviolet light, and so on. And so that's true. And most of the places known worldwide for cannabis are elevation places. Afghanistan,
Sure.
in Nepal, India, Himalayas, even in Jamaica, it's grown up in the mountains. All over the world, Ethiopia, cannabis is grown up in the mountains. And there's a reason for that. We don't really know scientifically the reason for that, but the farmers know.
The bottom line is it is influencing the genetic expression of the plant.
Yeah, exactly. No question about it. And elevation seems to be one of the key ingredients for growing. So can you grow high-grade cannabis anywhere and everywhere? Well, I don't really think so, actually, because elevation is important, and the cultural people, and we use seeds that have been genetically cultivated here in our area. Right, not only our own strains, but one friend of ours who's only been cultivating sativas for 30 years, she just lives on the other side of the hill, right? Mm-hmm. Another guy lives like the next canyon over on top of that hill, likewise been cultivating seeds there. Another guy's a third-generation guy down in the valley, right? And so we know now we're starting to really dial in which strains grow best at which places, closer to the coast, higher altitude, down in the valley, where the actual, the ground moisture level, the water table is high or low, and so on.
Do you find that varieties that were bred in similar conditions to say where you're going to be ultimately cultivating that plant, does that make a difference?
Oh, that's exactly what I'm saying.
What
that's why we use seeds from people who make their seeds from around here, right? And so now we have this valley here where we are, and that whole valley is kind of like a terroir. So we have our own special kind of quality of cannabis that we grow. And so, like I say, we have a community up here where if someone has some sort of disaster, maybe the rats ate their starts or something like that, the rest of the community comes and, hey, I got some extra starts here, and so on. Yeah. And that's been going on for a long time. It's an essential part of our culture, that interchange, giving and sharing and so on. Hey, I got this new bud, try this or whatever.
Have the rats eaten a bunch of people's cuts one time?
Absolutely. Oh,
that's
many
horrible.
Times, yeah. Anything. I mean, sometimes pigs come in and wipe out a whole area. Yeah, it can happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to wrap this up then, it seems that where the cannabis is grown plays a critical role in the ultimate expression and quality of the cannabis, huh?
Well, that's one of the most important things, and with the Mendocino Appellation project, we're commissioning several farmers all in the Appellation zones, 2 or 3 in each, to collect all kinds of data, weather data, soil data, sunlight data, angle and all of that sort of stuff, in order to kind of get a more precise collection of data to say what is unique about this area and why do we grow the best cannabis in the world.
Absolutely.
Which we do.
So while we can agree perhaps the best cannabis in the world is grown here in Mendocino County, can high quality cannabis be grown anywhere?
Not anywhere.
Okay.
But you can. There are many places that can grow equal to Mendocino County, Southern Oregon, Humboldt, and so on. That part really depends on how much love and care the individual farmer puts in, and particular other little tricks and techniques which we can discuss later. But what kind of nutrients you put in, when you harvest, all those things, because you can do everything right, or you can make all sorts of little mistakes or mistimings and so on. And yeah, as I keep saying, it ain't easy to grow high grade, but it's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Anyway, see you next time.
Yeah.